Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles. I'm going to talk about Paramount. I'm going to talk about their staffers being told they have to go back to work. Imagine that. You have to go back to the office 5 days a week, according to David Ellison. Now, this is after the Skydance Paramount merger went through, and things are already changing. We've been talking about a lot of the massive changes and shakeups at Paramount. A lot of people getting gone. Over at CBS, they're going to put Barry Weiss in, I guess, as the head of news. I'm actually very surprised that there are people still working at home. Like 5 years after the start of the pandemic at Paramount. I mean, it just shows me that things are pretty lax over there. But let's talk about this. Back to work or quit? Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Check out Geeky's Kickstarter. If you go out to Kickstarter, Glow and Ghouls Retro Halloween glow-in-the-dark enamel pins closes out in 5 days. We're going to try to turn these around as fast as we can, get them to you in time for Halloween. So we only ran the campaign for like 2 weeks. They're going to ship in tandem with the orc pins. So check it out over on Kickstarter. She's doing really good, actually. You can also check out the Geeky pin. There is a Geeky pin, just Geeky herself, because people wanted it. So we said, fine, we'll give you a Geeky pin. There we go. So let's talk about this. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Paramount staffers are expected back at office 5 days a week. As David Ellison steps into his CEO role, he's set a January 2026 date for employees to be back on the lot or office in LA and New York. Well, that's pretty liberal, right? It's not like he's saying you got to come back next week. But I think a lot of people took total advantage of the situation with the pandemic. A lot of people started working from home because of the health crisis that we had. The lockdown, which, is to be expected. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Of course, you're going to, try to work from home. I guess it beats the alternative, not being able to work at all. But a lot of people, I think, got too comfy working from home. And, I've telecommuted before. It presents its own challenges. But as an employer, if you're paying somebody a salary or even worse, paying them hourly, you're always wondering if you're getting what you're paying for. Right. And I know that there are a lot of people advocating for working at home. And in some cases, with some people, it does work out. In fact, the job I telecommuted at, I actually worked there in the flesh, in person, for 5 years, I think, before they let me telecommute. But there are a lot of people that are like, yeah, I get to work from home. I get to sit here in my jammies, eat my breakfast cereal and work, for like an hour a day and get paid for 8 hours of work. And we had a bunch of people that were taking advantage of that, right? They were working like 3 full-time tech jobs and getting paid like $500,000 a year, $600,000 a year. And eventually they got caught. So, I mean, I understand fully the company being like, yeah, you got to be here. So it says Paramount enters its next chapter. Newly minted CEO David Ellison is also putting a stamp on workplace culture. The Skydance mogul sent a company-wide memo to employees of Paramount, CBS, Paramount Plus, Showtime, Nickelodeon, MTV, BET, and Comedy Central, outlining a policy for full-time staffers in New York and LA to work in office by January 2026. Again, that's several months away. If you can't figure that out, I don't know what to tell you. Moving toward 5 days a week on site, Ellison wrote on Thursday that Paramount will offer severance packages for those employees who don't opt in. Okay, this is very important, guys. And this is the same thing that's happening at CBS. He's basically trying to get people to fire themselves, right? That's what he's trying to do. He is laying down the law, and he's like, yeah, you got to work. If you're a full-timer, imagine that. You have to work on site 5 days a week. And the people who don't agree to that, they get severance packages and out the door you go. He doesn't want to fire you, but he's trying to thin the herd a little bit. He's trying to get you to fire yourself. Same with CBS. Oh, we're going to bring what's going to whack the beehive? Oh, we'll bring Barry Weiss in. Oh, you don't want to work with her? You want to quit? Okay, there's the door. Thank you. I don't have to fire you myself. That's exactly what's going on here. He's fishing. He's trying to see who is going to be on board with his management style and what Paramount and CBS is going to be going forward, which I'm telling you right now is going to be a more right-leaning organization. or at least more centrist. And he's trying to, I believe, get rid of certain kinds of people. Basically, we saw this. We had a couple of years in tech where they would hire a lot of these people fresh out of college. They'd give them $200,000 a year salaries. They would work maybe an hour or two a day, take all kinds of spa breaks, and they'd go down and get themselves, a gourmet meal in the cafeteria. It'd be paid for. They bring their pets to work, and they weren't service animals. You know what I'm saying? They took total advantage of these companies. And, he's just saying, hey, this isn't going to happen anymore, guys. You're going to have to get back to work. Paramount's executive leadership has said that by early November, it will unveil a plan to exceed $2 billion plus in synergies, i.e. finding redundancies between Skydance and Paramount, whether that's in duplicative areas like administration or product, et cetera. Again, he is trying to get people to fire themselves. It's so much easier to make things difficult for people so they quit on their own than having to push them out the door. I know, I've been in management. It's easier to just move the stapler and hope that they leave on their own than to try to find a reason to get rid of them, especially in California. It's harder to fire people in California. Ellison stated that a major restructuring will take place across company silos, but that the global would be to reinvest in emerging areas, including uniting the company's technology stack, moving Paramount Plus, Bet Plus, and Pluto to the same platform. Yeah, why do we have like 19 streaming platforms? And exploring AI use. Again, another reason to jump ship if you're not on board with that. And he's cool with it. He's just like, yeah, you know what? We got to save money anyway, so bye. At least you're getting a severance package. He's not like, yeah, get the hell out of here, and we're not going to give you any severance. We're in the midst of a generational change in our industry, and we understand Paramount has faced its own significant challenges, compounded by the reality of a merger process that stretched out over a considerable time period, 13 months to close the deal. The C-suite has also signaled that these layoffs will be in one major move tied to its next earnings disclosure rather than several smaller waves of cuts. Yeah, because they just want to get rid of everybody in one fell swoop. Rip the Band-Aid off. Pull all the arm hair out at one time. At the end of last year, the company had 18,600 employees, but that was before a significant number of pink slips were given this year, and Skydance Media was integrated after the $8 billion merger. Paramount's major stateside locations include Times Square, Manhattan. I'm sure it's very expensive. And Paramount Pictures and Melrose. They talked that they were possibly going to sell the lot, which is wild to think about because Paramount's been a fixture. The studio lot's been a fixture for decades. And they don't care. I mean, it's a tech company. All of these Hollywood studios are becoming tech companies now. They are. It's all merging. The prior leadership regime under then owner Sherry Redstone sold to CBS New York BlackRock headquarters building for $760 million. Since taking over Paramount, Ellison has made several major swings already. Those have included a 5-year, 50-episode South Park agreement. At the rate South Park is going right now, it's going to take 25 years to get 50 episodes out of these guys. Nabbing UFC rights from ESPN in a 7-year deal, and signing Stranger Things creators Matt and Ross Duffer away from Netflix to a 4-year first look deal with an eye toward theatrical release. Then they moved the Street Fighter movie over there, which I don't know how that's going to do. You guys excited about Street Fighter movie? Here's the memo. Anyway, here's the memo, guys. Get your ass back to work. I believe that in-person collaboration is absolutely vital to building and strengthening our culture and driving the success of our business. Our people are the key to winning, and being together helps us innovate, solve problems, share ideas, challenge one another, and build the relationships that will make this company great. As I said during our town hall, some of the most formative moments of my life happened in rooms where I was a fly on the wall, listening and learning. I've never seen that happen on Zoom. Being together in person isn't just about showing up. It's about actively engaging with the business, supporting one another and the team's efforts, and contributing to our shared momentum. Before the pandemic, this was a duh. Again, there are some jobs that you could argue you get just as much done, if not more done, working remotely. I would say like programming or maybe design or something like that. But for a lot of these people that are trying to strategize multi-million-dollar projects, you can't have them spread out all over the place, right? You got to have them in the same room, probably. Plus, this is how you separate the wheat from the chaff, and that's what he's doing here. Is like, are you going to be on board with this new version of the company going forward? Or are you going to be difficult? And if you're going to be difficult, just get the hell out. And I talked about it yesterday. I worked for a newspaper in my 20s. I was actually a managing editor for a newspaper. I kind of got thrown into the role. They fired the other managing editor, brought me in actually from another publication to run it. And the first thing I was told was to get rid of anybody who was disloyal and basically make it look like an accident, right? And that's the truth. And it sounds very cold and it's very corporate, but you don't need enemies in your company. You don't need people that are going to try to undermine you in your company. And this is why, I said before, like the first people to go, we could have a conversation about unions, but the first people to go in a lot of cases are union workers, because a lot of them are adversarial toward the company. So they're going to find a reason to get rid of them because they're cutting into their bottom line. And a guy like Ellison's going to be like, yeah, I'm not messing. So yeah, if you're not willing to come into work, guess what? You're not getting paid six figures or whatever. Anyway, back to his memo. He said, to achieve what we set out to do and truly unlock Paramount's full potential, we must make meaningful change that positions us for long-term success. These changes are about building a stronger, more connected and agile organization. Translation, there's going to be a lot fewer of you that can deliver on our goals and compete at the highest level. We have a lot to accomplish and we're moving fast. We need to be all rowing in the same direction. Translation, we don't need people rowing against us. We don't need people whining about, working from home or this or that or whatever. They need to be like, no, you need to, get in the boat and help us, pivot this business because we're not doing so great, especially when you're dealing with a creative business like ours that begins with being together in person. With this in mind, we will begin phased return to office plan starting in January 2026, ultimately moving toward an in-person work environment where employees are in the office full-time 5 days a week. So January 5th for LA and New York. Phase 2, they're going to announce plans for employees not assigned to LA or New York, including international offices. So there's an opt-in program and you can leave now. There's the door. Pretty much, like, if you're not going to do what we tell you to do, and I mean, I know it's so weird to have to address it now because this was understood for decades. You get a full-time job, especially a white-collar job, right? You're expected to be in the office. Salaried, you're expected to be in the office. Unfortunately, you're expected to be in the office probably more than you're actually getting paid for. That just kind of goes with the territory. But like, I can't believe these people are just like, hey, yeah, I don't have to go back to work like ever. And it's like, no, gravy train's over. We recognize this represents a significant change for many, and we're committed to supporting you through the transition. We will work closely with managers to ensure you have the time and flexibility to make necessary adjustments. Translation, if you moved out into the middle of nowhere, into the boondocks, and you sold your house or whatever, you've still got time to go try to buy a house in LA or New York, or get an apartment or something. Most people aren't going to do that, and they know that. The reason they're doing this is they're trying to get rid of people without having to get rid of people themselves. They don't want to be the bad guys. So you fire yourself. It's so much easier for them, and that's what's going to happen. So we're going to talk a little bit here before we wrap it up. I actually have some optimism about Star Trek going forward. I think that, they're probably going to pivot Star Trek. I know Star Trek means a lot to Ellison, and the direction of Star Trek has been abysmal. It has not been good. Now, we can argue, this Cosmic Book News says it's Trump saved Star Trek. I don't know about Trump saving Star Trek, but he did allow this merger to go through, and I think Ellison could potentially save Star Trek. I don't even know what Star Trek is. I mean, when you've got a show like The Orville that is, has a lot of Star Trek alum on it, and it's actually better than, like, quote unquote real Star Trek, you got a problem. And they've canceled most of the new Trek. It's not good. I had a little bit of interest in watching Strange New Worlds, and then it fell off too. And I think things are going to change very, very quickly over there, and hopefully for the better. Like, Paramount has a massive library. They have a lot of really great stuff that they're sitting on that's been mismanaged. I don't think under Ellison we're going to see another Rise of the Pink Lady streaming show or anything like that. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with John Lasseter. I think he's going to be in charge probably of all animation before it's all said and done. And a lot of people tried to cancel him, and they're very vocal about trying to cancel him. And guess what? The animation jobs are drying up, and you're probably not going to get hired by him. if you were taking a huge dump on him publicly and calling him a rapist and all this other stuff that just was patently untrue. Like, that was not true. If he were doing anything that egregious, Disney would have cut him loose and not let him write out his contract. They just didn't renew his contract. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But there you go, guys. Back to work. Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.